Hi there, I'm Sian Holderness, and welcome to Health Unravelled. I'm a nutritionist, counsellor, and eating psychology coach, and in my almost decade of experience in the health industry, have seen far too many women and men become consumed with weight loss, only to end up yo-yo dieting with disordered eating patterns and impinge and restrict cycles. This just breaks my heart, so I'm here to unravel everything you thought you knew about health and yourself, to help you start putting the pieces of the puzzle together and begin the process of aligning your mind, body, and soul, creating a happier, healthier you. So let's dive straight in. Hello, lovely human. Welcome back to Health Unravelled. I want to start by saying a huge thank you for being here and for listening and for following along this awesome little venture that I've been on over the last 8 months with the Health Unraveled podcast. I had a goal by the end of the year to have 1,000 downloads. And I am currently, it's August at the point that I'm recording this, I have 962. So I am so close to cracking my first goal with this little podcast 4 months early, which is incredibly exciting to me. So what I'd love to ask from you is if you would be able to share this episode on your Instagram stories. Don't forget to tag me at the Holistic Health Counsellor, or share an episode with someone that you know would really appreciate it or really get some great value from it. All of those little things help my podcast to grow. I wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for your help and support. So I really appreciate that. And even leaving reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leaving me a little review goes a long way in how well that platform supports my podcast too. So thank you. Today's card reading was from the Work Your Light Oracle cards by Rebecca Campbell, and the card is called Pillar of Light. Your vibration is rising. You are the oracle. If only you guys could see the artwork on this card. It's honestly just beautiful. There's rainbows everywhere. It is just such a beautiful card. And it says that you are heaven and earth in perfect expression, a conduit for the light of the heavens to the earth. You are the rainbow bridge. Take time to meditate. Imagine yourself as a pillar of light, connecting the light of the heavens above with the earth. As the light shines through each of your chakras, you activate the rainbow bridge that many ancient scriptures speak about, raising your vibration and the vibration of the planet, linking the higher realms of the cosmos, guides, angels, and spirit with the ancient wisdom keepers and beings of planet Earth. They dance together through you. They sing together through you. Without your body, voice, and creations, neither can be expressed. For too long, we've been taught that God is outside of us, giving away our power to angels and spirit guides. But without you, they do not have a voice. You are the oracle. Do not look for guidance outside, for you hold all of the wisdom of the entire universe in the portal of your heart, in every cell of your body. Do not see the angels and guides as above you, for without you, they have no way of communicating. You are the oracle. You are the rainbow bridge. You are the pillar of light. The activation that goes with this says, I allow the light of the heavens and the light of the earth to flow through me now. I activate the codes of remembering within my cells and chakras. I activate my system as a rainbow bridge between heaven and earth. Now all the rainbows on the card make absolute sense. How beautiful. So in today's episode, I want to share a little bit about my body image story that I haven't really shared completely before. I'm just going to see what comes to me to share. It may not make complete sense because I don't think I've actually fully put it together as a story before. So the first time I remember thinking or feeling something about my body was back when I was a child in England. And I remember my mum going on one of the first diets that I remember. What I remember from that diet is couscous. Couscous was a new food in our house. And I think this might have been one of my mum's first attempts at this. I could be wrong. I love my mum very dearly. but she definitely was pivotal in my journey, and I've discussed this with her and the role that this has played as well. I think that communication is really, really important. But I remember my mum going on a diet and starting to go to the gym. And so I must have been maybe 10 at the time. So, pretty important age, especially as a female. We then later moved to Australia, and my mum signed up at a gym, and I actually signed up with her, and I used to go to classes with her and things like that. This is where I had my first exposure to personal training. I don't know if any of you have been to the old RPM classes, but it was all about calorie burning and things. And I was mum's little gym buddy for quite some time, and I did thoroughly enjoy it. I was quite an active kid. I grew up doing martial arts. I'm not coordinated, so I didn't do anything at all that requires coordination. So watching my mum kind of on this journey to lose weight and being, her gym buddy at the time, I think I was all of 14. I don't know how I got a gym membership, but I could go as long as I was with her. And so I did for a few years. And it wasn't long after that that the Kardashians became like this huge thing, right? And this was the first time I remember comparing my body. Now, I remember on an episode, Kim Kardashian actually mentioned her weight in pounds, and I instantly Googled and compared my weight to hers because I was a similar height to her. And I realized that she weighed a fair bit less than me. Now, I also around this time was doing competitive martial arts. So at the time, I was in judo, and in judo competitions, there was weight categories, and so weight had cropped up there as well. So I had these two things going on at the same time where I was constantly having to do weigh-ins for judo, and I also had this thing in the back of my mind that I needed to weigh the same as Kim Kardashian did. And in hindsight, it sounds so stupid, but my fragile little teenage brain really thought this was important. Now, when I moved over to Australia, I was only 13 years old, which was an incredible move. I'm so glad that my parents chose to do that. But I was right into kind of peak puberty. I really wanted to fit in. I really wanted to be liked. I was very insecure. And I think that move had a significant impact on my traits of people pleasing that I held for many years after this, that I touched on in the previous episode, because I really just wanted to fit in as a 13-year-old girl with an accent at a new school in a new country. That was huge for me. And so again, I wanted to do well with my martial arts. I wanted to be in the lowest weight categories I could. If you were like slightly over your weight category, the night before competition, you would go in the sauna or eat a salad or do whatever it was to like weigh that little bit less for the next morning. And this really started to play in my mind a lot. I remember actually, and I don't know if my parents know this, so sorry, mum and dad, but at one point I would actually train with Glad wrap around my waist. Now, trigger warning here, very disordered thought processes. I would train with Glad wrap wrapped around my waist because I thought that would help me burn more fat and weigh less. So this was where the peak of my disordered eating started to creep into place. I would go to school, and I would get a V from the servo over the road, or I would get like a Pepsi Max or Coke Zero from the school canteen, and that's all I would have all day, and I would chew on a straw, and I wouldn't eat lunch. I wouldn't take lunch. The first meal I would eat would be dinner. And I never really told anyone what I was doing as such. But I know my parents must have been somewhat aware of it, because what started happening from here is every afternoon after school, my dad would take me and my brothers to a local shopping centre, and we'd get a pie together, and then he'd pop me on the scales to make sure that my weight wasn't dropping anymore. It wasn't really a spoken thing, and perhaps at the time I really did need to talk about it. I'm feeling quite emotional now if you can't tell. For teenage Sian, because teenage Sian probably did need to talk about it. That looking back now with the knowledge I have, there was probably things that were going on that I really needed to talk about. And instead, I started trying to control my body and my weight instead. And that went on for a period of years, as you do as a teenager. You worry about how you look, um, and all of those things. And I remember after a period of time, I did start eating. I stepped into karate, so away from judo and into karate, um, where there wasn't such a focus on weight anymore. And I think that was a really good point for me. I'm quite competitive, if you can't tell, with a history of martial arts, powerlifting, bodybuilding. I'm quite competitive. I think that's the people pleaser in me, wanting to be good and please people around me. But that was a big shift, stepping away from those weight categories. I think that was extremely detrimental to me at such a young age. And so karate was great. I loved doing it. I ended up representing Australia and getting my black belt, which was really exciting. I was eating again. I was really looking after myself. I was still going to the gym with mum, but it came out of a place of enjoyment and spending time with her. From there, we then moved on to, actually, from there, I ended up with a boyfriend in my last year of high school who, when we broke up, it was in the middle of a party, a grade 12 party, and he yelled out in front of everyone something, dimple bum, about, having cellulite on my bum. Now, at this point, I was at an extremely, extremely healthy weight. I wasn't overweight by any means whatsoever. Not that that should matter anyway. And all of a sudden, I had this fear around how my body looks in angles that I can't see. So I became very, very insecure about the way people would look at me, about if they would see me from an angle that I couldn't control or see something about my physical appearance that I couldn't see. And that was always in the back of my mind. And I didn't actually realize this until recently when I was doing some work with my coach through a side part to this part of the story. That boyfriend of mine was extremely controlling. He was very emotionally abusive of me. There's fear in me even talking about this because I don't talk about it very much. But he played a significant role with my mental health as well. Yeah, that's a whole story for another day. But essentially, he played a huge role in how I viewed myself. He liked me to be covered from head to toe, so no one could look at me, no one could see me, and then kind of would pull me apart at the same time. From here, what happened? High school finished. I was working. I was actually in a pretty good place, but I was just navigating the fallout of the damage that relationship had done to me. I was very unwell health-wise. That was when I first got diagnosed with some digestive problems. I first got diagnosed with Hashimoto's around then. And my mum's my absolute best friend. I love her to bits. We actually started training for something called the Ride to Conquer Cancer. Now, the Ride to Conquer Cancer was a 200-kilometer plus cycling event. And we trained for months and months and months and months. It was 200 kilometers over 2 days. And I loved that kind of training. I loved cycling. We spent hours out on the road training. We did it, I think, 2 years in a row. And then for a following 2 years, we were road crew. So we still assisted the event. And so my training was really focused around that, which was fantastic because it was all performance-based. My food was performance-based. But I still was watching my beautiful mother struggle with her weight, trying to lose weight, trying to go on diets and things like that. From there, I shifted into adult life and it became less prevalent to me. I started learning more about nutrition, which was really interesting. I began studying. I started doing my nutrition course, which was a couple of years. And although body image was there, it wasn't controlling my life like it had in the past. The thoughts weren't so negative. But as I graduated and stepped into the weight loss and fitness industry, that's where things really took a turn again for me. So I felt like I had to look the part, which was a huge portion of my disordered thoughts around my body. I felt like I had to be a certain way, look a certain way, be a certain kind of person to be successful in my business. And so I dabbled in powerlifting, which was again in weight categories. And then I stepped into bodybuilding, which I have no regrets over. It was a huge life lesson, but I certainly really got hit hard with how my body changed throughout that process. I never felt good enough. So I was working with my coach from the October through to when I competed in the May. I was eating clean and then having, a cheat meal on the weekends because that's how it worked. I developed very disordered thoughts around my food. And I was hungry all the time, and I thought I'd be really strong to be in control of that. By the time I competed, when I was about to step up on stage for the first time, I looked at everyone around me and I was like, oh my God, I don't even know why I'm here. I shouldn't be here. And yet I ended up winning 2 first place trophies on that day in both of my lineups. And so that just goes to show, when my body was when I had what I thought would be my dream body, I still did not feel good enough. I still did not feel good enough at all. And after competing, I fractured my foot, very, very minor. But it meant that I couldn't reverse out of the hours and hours of cardio that I was doing. So my body went from 2 hours of cardio a day to nothing at all. Training was hard. I ended up gaining 10 kilos in all of 2 weeks. My food patterns were extremely disordered. Food was making me feel sick, and yet I could never feel full. I was completely binging. I would drive to the servo on the way to work, where I worked as a nutritionist in a gym, and I would be eating 4 donuts and hiding that from people. I remember one point sitting in a Woolworths car park after just eating like a massive McDonald's breakfast roll and hash brown, and then eating 4 Skinny Cow ice creams. And I was so full and I just felt so sick, and yet it just wasn't enough. Seeing my body change that much, that drastically, that quickly, seeing my weight go up, so from like the lightest I'd ever been to the heaviest I'd ever been, was really challenging. Even though, again, I look back now and I actually weigh heavier now and I looked great. It just again shows how disordered those thought patterns become, and how the way we see ourselves is so completely different to how we actually are. Now, the complete transformational moment for me it wasn't even a moment, as a period in my life, was actually when I fell pregnant. When I fell pregnant, I gained 30 kilos over the pregnancy. I had a high-risk pregnancy and a lot of health complications. And all that mattered to me at that time was being healthy and keeping my body healthy and safe at the same time. And when I had my little boy, he was late term preemie. He was born at 34 weeks, and that kind of consumed my whole life. He was in special care for 2 weeks. And during that time, postpartum, some of the weight was dropping off quite quickly. But I definitely felt this pressure to prove that I knew what I was doing for my clients, to be like the poster story of like my weight loss journey. But that changed. That shifted so significantly, and there wasn't even a specific moment where it happened, but I wanted to be the healthiest I could be for my son. And my mum was really pivotal here because she is so fit and so healthy. She's fitter than me because she wants to be able to run around with her grandchildren. She wants to be able to play with them and laugh with them and run around with them and have fun with them and make memories with them. And that's the way in which my mindset shifted to. I now don't care so much how my body looks. I care more about how I'm feeling and functioning and what kind of life I'm creating for myself, because I know that my physical body will just be a direct reflection of those things that I'm doing. If I'm living the life that I want to live with the balance that I love, I cook dinner with my son and I eat with him. Josh eats with us as well. We eat together as a family. We make memories as a family. We go out on the weekend. We order pizza because Charlie just loves pineapple pizza. But I also do it in a way that I know my body's going to really feel good with. So I find that balance between how I want to feel, the balance I want to have in my life, that short-term gratification and that long-term gratification as well. And my physical body literally will just do what it needs to do with all of those things in mind, combined with my genetics. And I don't want to waste any more of my life changing the way my body looks. I want to 100% love it as it is and know that all it is a reflection of what I've done, what I've been through, what I'm doing, and how I'm living my life. And suddenly it stopped having this power over me anymore because how I felt began to matter so much. So I hope you loved listening to my body image story. I've never actually, like I said, spoken it out like this before and kind of put it all together. So I appreciate you listening. That was very vulnerable for me, but I promise to always be open and honest here with you. And it's this journey I've been reflecting so much on as I've created the Perfectly Imperfect project, which is something that's been in the back of my mind for a couple of years now, based around how you can also bring this level of kindness to your body and start seeing it in a completely different light and start honoring it and loving it rather than punishing it and hating it and never feeling like it's good enough for you. So I will be releasing more information on that shortly. I would love for you to jump over into Self-Honor School as well, because I'm currently running a 21 days to a more confident you, where I've uploaded a video that's around about 5 minutes each day. The final ones will be getting uploaded this week as well. And that's all free, but only for a short period of time before they get taken down. So yeah, head on over, share this episode. I hope you loved it, and I'd love to hear your feedback and a bit about your journey with body image as well. So reach out to me on Instagram at the Holistic Health Counsellor, and I can't wait to see you next time. If you loved this episode, please let me know by leaving me a review or sharing this with your friends. It's so important for me to get this information out to those that need to hear it. So your feedback means the absolute world to me. And also, if you have any topic requests, hit me up with them too.